Next, Mark Anderson is appointed Chief Executive Officer, succeeding Dean Stocker. I don't even know what that means. But it looks like they upped guidance, hence the gap, 24%. You've got a big base. When you think about, like, when you're day trading stocks or even swing trading stocks, when you get, like, any kind of stock that has some kind of earnings popper and is coming out of, like, a neglected base, or it's neglected, it's got a base, meaning it's, like, kind of based out for a long period of time, they can run pretty good. So I'd keep that on the watch list. At AYX, let me see, they don't have ever good short interest data anymore. Short interest data is like notoriously bad, but let me see if there's any shorts in this. 4 days to cover, 8 million shares, not a huge amount, but 8 million shares, how much is the float? 44 million, so you got 1/5 of the float, give or take, is short. That could start a little short squeeze. I would add that, I'd add that to the list. So let's go in AYX, add that to the list. CBAT. So the CBAT is a battery company. Pull back to 9 EMA and that's starting to push. I would probably a pass on that. What do you think? So this VER is like a coronavirus play. It's a thin little bastard, meaning like there's no liquidity on this one. I've tried to trade this a few times, and there's never any good liquidity on that one. I'd probably leave that one alone. So these are all Corona plays. BNTX is another Corona play. Frankly, maybe we do need to put a couple of these. Let me see what NVAX is doing. NVAX is coiled up here. mRNA has been doing nothing. So it looks like out of the Corona plays, it's VIR and BNTX seems to be the one that's been really popping. This 105 is like a big time breakout if it could actually kind of make its way over there. Let's see here. So you had 4 million shares in volume yesterday. It had pretty good range. My worry on this one is it's up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row. I'm going to add it to the list, but it may not be a huge priority. Let's see how it acts. All right, we got Pola, junk. Hey, so this pill, we should add to the list. So yesterday, like this pill, somebody mentioned in chat a couple times, and I fucking forgot about it. But you can see, like, you did a VWAP sizzle over here. I mean, this thing was a heater yesterday. So you ended up with a really nice range on it. You can see you've got, like, kind of all these good spots that it was really pushing to. And it was really end of day breakout. Like, you had all sorts of, you had some nice juice on this one. It's starting to make its way back. They signed a deal with Tesla or whatever for some lithium stuff. I'd keep this on the watch list, frankly. All right. SPAC junk. EMWL. Man, this thing was a beast yesterday. So this thing was an all-day trender. Man, how we missed that. Add that. I'd keep this on the list. This thing's an IPO breakout. It's in the right sector. This like information, healthcare, health tech, health information, med tech. Any of that stuff has been like a big beast this year. And this happens to also be an IPO stock. So it's got a lot of juice on it. If you look here yesterday, like the trend on this was, it was pretty significant. I would go in for a day 2 play on this, especially if it dumps off at the open. Watch for a red to green or either a pullback to the 9 or 20. That one could have some heat. Damn. Add that to the list. Don't let your list get too crazy too. It's really easy in a hot market to just let everything push. So you can see what's happening with the general market today is we are opening slightly weak after yesterday's big run at 0.24%. That is a pretty light open, which is good. I think the play for us today is to try to take this bad boy red to green in the market and have ourselves a second day run. I think that's going to be the play today. So beyond these gappers, this is going to be our focus list, all right? This is going to be our focus list of stuff that could go. Out of the gate, D-Dog potentially out of the gate if it breaks, 108, all right? D-Dog potentially out of the gate if it breaks, 108. Does that make sense? Good. Man, that thing it's hot. Like, it's pretty hot. We may have to take this thing like first few minutes. I think that one's going to be something that could go literally out of the gate. Twilio had a rest day yesterday. It pre-announced its earnings. Yesterday was like what we'd call like an inside day. An inside day is when you have a range inside the previous day's big range. That rest day, I think, sets this in for a potential day 2. All right? Big C had a nice move yesterday. Jordan, I think you're right on that. It had a nice move on it yesterday, and then it was actually acting, it was frustrating because it wasn't necessarily after this move, which sucked up a lot of its range. It wasn't breaking out necessarily cleanly, but holy shit, like it was reacting really well to the VWAP, which is kind of something you want to see, like when you're going into these. I think that one's going to be, that thing is hot to trot. Yeah, we want to be on this thing today for a day 2 play. Hey, Olivia, how are you? Crowd was another one. We caught a nice ORB on this yesterday. Ended up getting a few points out of it. I think this one's also got a day 2 play in it. It looks like it's got an imminent attack of its old highs, which is at 53. This stock also moves pretty well. If you're just like going off the eye test of like when you're in a stock, how does it move? How does it react? I think that this one still moves pretty good. Now on the short side, we're going to need a couple shorts. JKS, this stock is up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, one rest day, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 days in a row. My issue on this one is it's not speeding up. It's just been grinding higher. I would really like for it to get parabolic. You're already starting to see some weakness off the bat on this one. It could work. For a potential short, maybe back down into the low 40s. That's about as extended as you can get. My worry on this one is the market cap on it's obviously very, very low. Sometimes, like these bad boys, sometimes they just don't crack right because when the market cap is that low, they're not going to act like regular stocks. They're not going to act like humans and act right. But I think that one's going to be fine. I'd add SPWR to the watch list too. This one is outside the top of the Bollinger Band. That's when you know it's like a truly extended. This thing was just at $10. It's at 16. You're up about 60% in a few days. The rubber band short. So like rubber band shorts, just a setup that we do. The rubber band short, to have a valid one, you want stochastics minimum over 80, ideally over 90, and then candle completely outside the upper Bollinger Band is a plus, and then it's just the eye test. Like what is the distance between where the 9 EMA is and where the stock is, right? So if you can, as the distance widens, the opportunity for it to snap back also widens. So usually if you can fit kind of 2 thumbs between where the 9 EMA is and where the price is, you're usually in a good spot. All right? So I think that this one it's up 21 cents. This one could go right out of the gate. Like this one could go green to red out of the gate. The green to red spot will be about 1550s. So keep an eye on that. Now, one thing to be careful of, like when you're shorting, because this happens on, shorting momentum is very, very hard. Like it's the hardest trade you can do. And this can happen sometimes. Like see, like yesterday in JKS, you gapped up, and then like it completely reversed. It did do a red roll, and it did drop a few dollars. So, there was a little bit of range. But then it got bought up and just ramped out, right? That can happen sometimes. So when you go in for like the green to red trade on SPWR today, if you do, be mindful that if it starts to hold, it's probably going to squeeze back, right? And then maybe do like a late day fade or something like that. So you just got to be a little bit careful with that. So SPR, SPWR, JKS, and then I think the next one, that we need to add is this OSTK. It's got the breakout spots at 84, but it's starting to marinate over here. I think this could be the day. Usually after you get a big day like that, a couple rest days. So like if 3 days ago, we were shredding. Shredding this thing out of the gate. And, for most of the day, we were trading this thing back and forth. Now it's had kind of a couple rest days. So you had like some really sick range. Then you had a rest day, and then yesterday was a rest day. Usually when you get a couple marination days and you're allowing us after a big day, then you may, get a secondary breakout, and it may come really fast. One thing to remember with OSTK too, because it's a little bit of a lower float and it's a little bit thinner of a stock, when it starts to go, it'll just push like $4 or $5 right off the gate, right? $4 or $5 right off the gate. I like that one. LVGO. This one is a grinder, Andrew, so I don't really know. Like, it's there, but it's a grinder. Like, if you look at, like, kind of just how it's acting lately, it's a grinder. It's a grinder. So the breakout is there. It's just how much focus do you really want to put in something that's just grinded? Not much, right? Good. And then last one of the faves. Beaky. Beaky, do you love me? Beaky's been probably one of our number one money makers of the last, couple months. You're sitting on the 9 EMA here, starting to curl back. I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing start to really push back into this. Vamshi, what do you want to do with Nicola? Add Beaky to the list. That's top of the list. Then we got our daily traders like Penn and stuff, but I think that is going to be our phase, all right? So to recap, the two solars, JKS, SPWR. Add in D-Dog on 108 break. Add in Twilio on the rest day. We got OSTK, especially if it gets over 84. And then we got Big C and the Big D. Big C for a second day play. And then, the rest of it. And then, of course, Beaky. Now to the gappers, we've got AYX. We've got BNTX, which I would put this on the bottom of the list of the gappers. PLL, if it rips over yesterday's highs, we may be able to take this thing out of the gate. AMWL, BNTX. Richie, CLSK does look pretty good. It looks like it just got a little pop over here. That's faded back off, but I would probably keep that on the watch list. And then Spaceballs. Spaceballs is solid. Spaceballs is solid. It is a little bit of a tweener, obviously, in terms of where it is, the location is on its chart. But, like, you got this thing. Yeah, it's not bad. It's just, it was a little bit of a grinder yesterday, but frankly, it might have just been a little bit of a rest day. I'd keep it on the list. It's not a focus of mine. Jordan, I'll probably wait just for an ORB on this thing because I don't want to chase it up 24%. If I get an ORB or a first pullback, right? The first pullback on a gapper is usually a good spot. What I mean by first pullback is, say like something like this Innox. This is ideally for any of you guys that are like new. So you get a stock that's just popping up on some news or something like that, right? So like this thing pops up like $2-3 at the open. See that like first pullback when it starts to hold? That's like a good spot. Usually around the 9 EMA or so if it starts to hold there. CMTL. This one looks okay, but it is in the kind of Anthony, it's right in the middle of the range. And if you think about like kind of what's happening with the market, there's so many stocks right now that are, there are so many stocks right now that are trending. I don't know if I think there's better money spent elsewhere. So it's not necessarily a bad thing or anything like that. It's not bad stock or anything like that, but it's more about bang for your buck. Where can I put my money in where it's the most efficient? Hey, Vamshi, I don't know on Nikola. I mean, it's going to need some news, but there's so many other EV companies that don't have the hit piece on it. This thing, I just don't see any, I don't see any reason right now. Like, it's just, I don't think there's an easy play on it. What's up, Mo? Upwork. So Upwork is a nice trender. I don't think it's a short just because it's not gone parabolic. It's more just kind of grinding higher. Yeah, Brando, I think AMWL is hotter too. XPEV. So now XPEV out of the EV companies, this one's got a little bit of a rounding pattern. I think this one has got a day 2 probably in it. My watch list is too damn long, so I'm trying to, look at all these fucking things. I gotta start taking some of these things off. Yeah, it's tricky when your watch list just becomes like this massive parade of tickers. So what you really want to do, like when you have so many stocks, right, and they all look fantastic, and they're great people, they're fantastic, they're great people, okay? I feel 20 years younger because of the coronavirus, okay? Don't be afraid. Just take your medicines, take your vitamins, and everything is going to be fantastic. They're great people everywhere. So I think what you got... Sorry. I don't know what's wrong with me. All right. Yeah, start ranking them. So that's how I want to do it. Okay. I want to start looking at my plays and saying, like, okay, what are my faves? Like, what do I want to hit first? And you want to really start to just rank them properly, so that you're not necessarily getting yourself in too much trouble. This PLL is hot. Good. So that's the list. I'm sticking to it. If I could turn back time, if I could find a way. Yeah, AMWL, Big C, OSTK, D-Dog, Beaky. This PLL over yesterday's highs. I think we're good to go. Then we got these solars for shorts. This JKS is already cracking a little bit. Good. That's the list. I'm sticking to it. Yes, bootcamp, guys. Our bootcamp starts. Bootcamp restarts on Thursday. Classes at 8 p.m. Be there or be square. That's a 90s term.